Good morning. The next topic is launching the satellite. Space shuttles carry some satellites into space, but most satellites are launched by rockets that fall into the ocean after their fuel is spent. Many satellites require minor adjustments of their orbit before they begin to perform their function. Military rockets called thrusters make these adjustments. Once a satellite is placed into a stable orbit, it can remain there for a long time without further adjustment. Launching of geostationary satellite initially placed spacecraft with the final rocket stage into low Earth orbit. After a couple of orbits, during which the orbital parameters are measured, the final stage is lanated and spacecraft is launched into the geostationary transfer orbit. Perigee of GTO is that of LEO altitude, apogee that of geo altitude. After a few orbits in GTO, while the orbital parameters are measured, the rocket motor is ignited at apogee and GTO is raised until it is circular geostationary orbit. AKM is used to circulate the orbit at GEO and to remove any inclination error so that the final orbit is very close to geostationary. If we speed the satellite up while it's in low circular Earth orbit, it will go into elliptical orbit heading up to apogee. If you do nothing else, it will stay in its elliptical orbit going from apogee to perigee and back again. But if we fire a rocket motor with the satellites at apogee and speed it up to the required circular orbit speed, it will stay at that altitude in circular orbit. Firing a rocket motor at apogee is called apogee kick. The motor is called apogee kick motor. Orbital maneuvers. Hoffman transfer. It can be used to rise or lower altitude. Most efficient method at minimum requires completion of the half evolution transfer orbit. The Hoffman transfer is a fuel efficiency way to transfer from one circular orbit to another circular orbit that is in the same plane but a different altitude. To change from a lower orbit to higher orbit, an engine is first fired in the opposite direction from the direction the vehicle is traveling. This will add velocity to the vehicle, causing its trajectory to become an elliptical orbit. This elliptical orbit is carefully designated to reach the desired final altitude of the higher orbit. In this way, the elliptic orbit or transfer orbit is tangent to both the original orbit and the final orbit. This is why a Hoffman transfer is fuel efficient. When the target altitude is reached, the engine is fired in the same manner as before, but this time the added velocity is planned such that elliptic transfer orbit is circularized at the new altitude of orbit. These are the different launch vehicles. Here, a launch vehicle is a rocket used to carry a payload from the Earth station into outer space. Types of launch vehicles: expendable launch vehicle, reusable launch vehicle. Expendable launcher are designed for one-time use. They usually separate from their payload and crash back to Earth. Payloads are government and commercial communication satellites, weather satellite, remote sensing satellite, etc. ELV is made of one or more rocket stages. After the stage has burned its propellant, it is jettisoned from the vehicle. Reusable launcher, they are designed to be recovered intact and used again for launches. Space shuttle, also called the space transportation system, are reusable. The solid rocket boosters are recovered and refurbished for future mission, and the shuttle vehicle itself is flown back to Earth for reuse. Single stage to orbit launch and two stage to orbit launch. Thank you.